today. Yeah, she is the Manager of Marketing and Cooperation of Universitas Brawijaya Media Communication. That is a media network that is established under my university, Universitas Brawijaya, and consisting of UB TV, UB Radio, and Kanal 24, that is online media. So I will give a chance to Ibu Arsih Amalia, ESCOM, MCOM, to moderate the keynote speech session. Please, Mbak Lia.
Thank you so much, Mas Sukman, for the opportunity. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Selamat pagi. First of all, I would like to once more Chandra Permata, and I will be the moderator for this event. Once again, on behalf of the organizer, I would like to send my warm welcome to all the guests to the first Lekantara Annual Conference on Business, Economic, and Innovation Management. This seminar is a collaboration of Lekantara, Universitas Trisakti Indonesia, and fully supported by Association of Nusantara Higher Education Lecturers, or PDPTN. Our theme of discussion today is environmental, biological, and food security as a fundamental basis for national survivability in the modern condition. Once more, on behalf of the organizer, I would like to thank you to Universitas Trisakti, especially Faculty of Landscape Architecture and Environmental Universitas Trisakti Indonesia, and also Association of Nusantara Higher Education Lecturers that give fully support to this event. And now is the time to presentation by Dr. Insinyur Suwono, MMA, Minister of Agriculture Republik Indonesia from 2009 until 2014. Suswono, ladies and gentlemen, has served as Minister of Agriculture Indonesia since October 22nd, Deputy Chairman of Commission 4 of the Council of People's Representative for period 2004 until 2009. Bapak Ibu, Bapak Suswono merupakan Menteri Pertanian Indonesia. Beliau menjabat sejak 22 Oktober 2009 dan sebelumnya beliau menjabat sebagai Wakil Ketua Komisi 4 DPR RI untuk periode 2004 hingga 2009. This section is around 20 minutes and Bapak Suswono, do you already hear? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Pak Suswono.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bagaimana kabar hari ini, Bapak?
Baik, sehat, alhamdulillah.
Syukur, alhamdulillah, Bapak. Terima kasih berkenan untuk menyempatkan, meluangkan waktunya pada hari ini. Silakan, Pak Suswono, berkaitan dengan tema untuk materi hari ini. Disilakan.
Baik, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening to all. In this wonderful day, allow me to express my sincere gratitude and thanks you to the committee that had invited me to this seminar. It's an honor to gain the trust from the committee to be a speaker on this prestigious seminar. I do hope that my lecture will be fruitful and will give the benefit for all of us. As what I have been informed by the committee, today's topic of seminar is environmental, biological, and food security as fundamental basis for national survivability in a modern condition. Indeed, this is a very interesting topic and extremely relevant with today's issue we are facing. However, I will address this topic specifically from Indonesia point of view, given the fact that Indonesia is facing numerous of challenge in regards to food sustainability. Therefore, my today's presentation will be about food sustainability as the foundation national security, or food security as part of national defense. Okay, okay, next. Open slide, please. Moving forward to the topic of my lecture today, it automatically reminds me of some of the statements being presented by well-known world leader in regards on the sense of urgency of food sustainability. Mr. Sukarno, our first president of Indonesia, during the groundbreaking of Bogor Agriculture University back in year 1952, said in one of his statements that food is life, and that's the situation related to civil society of Indonesia. Therefore, it's extremely important to ensure the availability of food throughout the nation. And then Jawaharlal Nehru, the Prime Minister of India, also mentioned in one of his statements in regards to food sustainability that everything can wait, not agriculture. First of all, obviously, we must have enough food. Secondly, other necessities. And also, Henry Kissinger mentioned in one of his best speech that whoever has access to world oil, they will be able to control many countries in their hand. Whoever has access to food, they will be able to control people. This statement of our leaders confirm the sense of urgency of ensuring long-term sustainability of food, as our civilization highly depends on the availability of food itself. Dear seminar members, in forum of FAO, which I had attended 10 years ago, I informed FAO General Director during that even by today, the availability of food worldwide is sufficient. However, food distribution is unfortunately still not evenly distributed. In developed countries, the statistic of obesity increased drastically, showing the fact of excess of food. In contrary, in developing countries, numerous people are facing malnutrition, which again showing the fact of lack of food on those countries. Should the developed country be able to distribute those excess of food to the developing country, then all nations will have access the same. We will have the same access to progress and healthiness. Even food availability is still sufficient. We will are all aware that the future of our world is uncertain, given the fact that we are facing three major crises, which is water crisis, energy crisis, and food crisis. Therefore, it's widely agreed among us that each nation has the responsibility to prepare world food crisis. Next. Next, please. There might also be the case that a country can import food from other food producers based on their commercially capability. However, it may be the case that due to lack of financial capability, a nation will not be able to import food from foreign countries. This will endanger the food security of that nation, which will drag into crisis, social and political. That is why it's important that every country has their own food sustainability program to ensure local food production. Thanks to the location at the equator of the world and the largest country in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, which can also be considered as the largest agriculture country in the world, both responsible to ensure world food sustainability. Since Indonesia is an agriculture country, the importance of food sustainability had been already written in our law constitution number 18, year 1912, in regard to food. It's mentioned that the basic of sustainability is sovereignty and self-sufficiency, which means that Indonesia shall ensure the availability, accessibility, and quality of food supply for its people to ensure prosperous life for all of the people of the nations to improve their productivity. But again, as I speak, the crisis of water, energy, and food do still exist due to the increase of demand, but yet with a very limited resource to be generated to accommodate therefore, to ensure the food sustainability as being mentioned in our law constitution by increasing the local food production in Indonesia. Local production of food for Indonesia is highly possible given the fact, as I mentioned in my statement earlier, that Indonesia is located at the equator of the world and that there is plenty of land that is not yet being potentially utilized. On top of that, thanks to Indonesia's potential of local, that can also contribute as well. Next. Next, please.
Yes. Just a minute, sir.
Agriculture system plays a significant role in terms of ensuring food sustainability. As well, all know is the basis of food providers for more than 260 million people in Indonesia. It's also a solution provider more than 80% raw waste for small and mid industry. PPT, please go next, committee.
Ditunggu sebentar, Bapak.
Okay, our agriculture system also able to absorb more than 30% of labor working, making it one of the best solution to reduce the number of unemployment in Indonesia. Because of that, in a rural area, agriculture affect 70% of our income of our nation. That is why a strong agriculture is a key for a continuous food sustainability. Okay, next. Next, please. Next.
Sebentar Bapak, ini koneksinya agak turun.
However, numerous major factors that contribute to on the degradation of local food production sustainability. The first one is degradation of agriculture resources. As well or no, Indonesia is blessed with such fertile land. Unfortunately, due to the presence of non-organic or chemical fertilizer, the lands degrades in terms of time, and land are not longer fertile enough to be reused again. This may look good as a short-term solution, however, it's harmful in long term. The second anomaly of climate. In the past, is always possible to determine when the rainy season and dry season. Unfortunately, the anomaly of climate has changed drastically, causing severe destruction to the quality of our agriculture production capacity. Even we are now not in the capacity to predict the arrival of rainy season as well as dry season. La Nina and El Nino are now changing drastically. And third, land conversion. As we know, a high number of agricultural land are now being converted into resident land. Even worse, the statistic shows also that the area that is being used for industrial area are increasing drastically in the recent years. The utilization of land for resident and industrial are the major contribution of the reduction of land being used for agriculture. Serious action need to be taken, as it has been estimated that more than 100,000 hectares of land converted yearly to resident and industrial land. And finally, environmental pollution. The unsolved problem of environmental pollution is also one of the main contributions to the decrease of agriculture production capacity in Indonesia. These are the major contributions that is hindering Indonesia of optimizing its capacity to become local food producer for its own civilians. Next. On top of that, we are being confronted by daily challenge of agriculture being faced by our farmers in Indonesia as well, such as, for example, land ownership from our farmer that are not sufficient to have a proper economical skill, causing high cost of agriculture production itself. And then a problem of availability and quality of seed, poor infrastructure, such as, for example, dam or reservoir, as well all know numerous of them are facing low water debit, causing unsolved problem in our irrigation system. Even ongoing dam or reservoir construction financed by the government are delayed, which add to the problem of our agriculture system. A lot of Indonesia's young generation are also not interested to be involved in our agriculture system and society. This is in fact very dangerous, as we need a lot of innovation in our agriculture system to improve our food production capacity based on our agriculture system. And improper financial support for our farmers. Although there are already indeed some regulation in regard to this, but the fact is that even by today, there is not so much of financial support being given that will be able to support the productivity of our farmers. And then our agriculture institutional is also weak, causing low bargain power from our farmers. This is also one of the reasons that cause volatile agriculture product price. As well, although our farmers are expecting for a reasonable price that they can sell to the market on the agricultural product. And last, poor downstream technology contribute to the challenge our farmers are facing. Most of the technology being used to enhance the productivity of our agriculture are all conventional technology that should be improved. Next. Dear all seminar members, outside of the challenge we are facing based on my explanation in my previous slide, we are also being faced with the following problem as well: the productivity continuity, low production quality, long trade chains, price fluctuation, weak bargaining power of farmer in the market, lack of market information, and lack of marketing network. This is the problem of farmers. Next. As of now, there is no proper coordination between the central government and the state government, as state government has their own autonomy to decide. This is making of state had conducted land conversion into industrial and residential area instead of utilizing the land for agricultural purpose. On top of that, there is no firm one regulation from our government, that regulation from the top to the bottom on the target that they expect to achieve for the agriculture purpose, which in this case worsening our goal of food sustainability. So we have to ensure that we shall be able to reduce and solve all the problem that we are facing, so that we minimize all the risks that is endangering our food sustainability. Next. With the increase of population of Indonesia and the world, the capacity of our agriculture production output to support the food sustainability goal shall be definitively increased. Although the production output capacity may still not be as that we expected. There is also a way to ensure that the availability of food in line with the increase of our population. What we can do is be also reducing the risk of food production loss, which in this case is still above more than 10%. This can be done by ensuring proper management of the harvest time. We also can ensure to reduce the consumption of one main product. For example, that Indonesia population is still relying on only one product, such as rice. As we all know, most Indonesian people consume rice as their basic needs. To solve this, we need to ensure that Indonesia can implement food consumption diversity by consuming other foods outside rice, such as cassava or sago, and etc. Even better, our society are no campaigning less carbo, more protein diet, which can also be a solution for this food consumption diversity. I think we need to ensure our people to understand this, as making rice requires much more effort on producing it compared to other food resources. Next, to solve all this all the issue above, there should be a drastic revitalization on all sectors, starting from agricultural land ownership, local seed production, as well infrastructure improvement, human system, improve agricultural institution, as well as a basic improvement of our downstream technology. However, this improvement cannot stand by its own. Fundamental support from government plays a significant role. Government shall ensure the agriculture that is the foundation of food sustainability is to be part of the priority in a form of political, financially supportive, and good governance. As for example, in first world country, even the farmers have plenty of lands, they are still be supported and funded by the government. Indonesia's farmers shall also be funded and supported by the government, given the fact that the land that they have are even smaller. For your information, the average of land ownership from our farmers in Indonesia is only around 0.2 hectares per farmer. Next. Dear also similar member, as a closing statement, I would like to emphasize that a government cannot act by its own. Academicians as well as entrepreneurs, which are main stakeholders, plays a significant role to support government on improving the food sustainability in Indonesia. Government can only act as a provider or as a foundation to ensure the improvement of agriculture of Indonesia through innovation. Academicians, together with other entrepreneurs, shall continuously provide innovation for the sake of agriculture improvement. This technology can then be mass produced and be utilized by our people. With this kind of synergy, I believe that there will be plenty of improvement in our agriculture sector, which therefore can ensure the sustainability of food, not only in Indonesia, but also throughout the world. I think this is the best way to improve our food sustainability in Indonesia by energizing all sectors, starting from academicians, entrepreneurs, with the support of government. This innovation will surely be able to be implemented by our society for the sake of future food sustainability. Last slide, next. To add also on my statement above, innovation can be focusing on, for example, land management, agroclimatic, continuous food production, logistics and distribution, after harvest service and preservation, environmental control, as well as agricultural resource conservation, last but not least, marketing of product goods. This innovation will ensure the expectation of food production capability. Hopefully, with this innovation, it will allow us to be much more efficient and therefore can compete with other foreign products. Also, with ensuring food sustainability, this will avoid future crisis because it's highly possible that food crisis will drag us to social or even politics crisis. This is something we want to avoid by all case as all case by all case as what I have said in my previous statement. That it from my end. At the end, all my statement we all based on macro assessment in regard to the challenge that we are facing. I hope it can be a foundation for this today's seminar. For detail and further discussion, I would like to pass by this to the next speaker that will provide more details in terms of improving our food sustainability. I hope my lecture today will fill the expectation from the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the great presentation that hopefully increase our knowledge. Due to the limitation and your other schedule, Bapak Suswono, we let you to move to the next agenda, and we are very thankful for your time.
See you again.
Okay, see you insya Allah. Sehat selalu Bapak. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Amin, amin.
Pak Suswono, sehat selalu, Bro. Terima kasih, Pak. Bapak. Terima kasih, Bapak.
Well, okay. Before the next session, I'd like to remind you to fill the link to get the certificate and invite all of you to write down the question to the speaker on the chat box. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, one of our speakers, Yulia, has to undergo the surgery so that she can attend this event. We are hoping the best for her. Secondly, I'd like to invite Professor Sidorenko Anatoly. For your information, he's an associate leading researcher at LBSAR Kismet, Republic of Moldova. Now, please welcome Professor Sidorenko Anatoly.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you very much for organizers for kind and important meeting. As President Sukarno told, food is life, and it is sometimes more important than the weapons because it gives real independence and sovereignty to the country. That's why the problems which our previous speaker explained, it was very important. Thank you for very informative and very wide vision of the problem for the talk of our first lecturer. And I will support these ideas in my talk. And as the epigraph to my talk can be words of great President Sukarno, and he formulated is extremely short and correct. Food is life. And I will present in my talk some activities in direction of support agriculture in our country in frame of various projects. Last 3 years in frame of SpinTech project. I'm coordinator of this European project where are involved two partners from Stockholm University and from Twente University from Holland, and also a tight collaboration, many years tight collaboration with our partners from Germany and from Russia, with Sergei Plygun. Thank you very much him for collaboration and for invitation to this event. And colleagues from Ijevsk and from Kazan, theoreticians who support our activities many years in modeling, design and fabrication of functional nanostructures and functional nanomaterials, which we can implement for problems of agriculture. This is the part of the activity of the project. Project has many other directions, deal with elaboration and investigation functional nanostructures and functional nanomaterials, but functional nanomaterials which we use for agriculture, for pesticides destruction, for water quality improvement, and for especially for hydrometeorological processes regulation, I will short present in my talk. So as we told that the food production and agriculture especially is one of the main pillars of each country, and if it gives it real independence, if it is good developed. As I told that sometimes it is even more important than weapons. Without weapon, the people can live, without food not. In Moldova, we have two main difficulties in agriculture. One of this problem is hail, which destroyed a lot of fields. Sometimes it has catastrophic. We last 2 decades we deal with problem of hail processes in Moldova Republic. Briefly, some numbers. In Moldova, hail influenced nearly all agriculture area of Moldova. 2,500 square kilometers of agriculture field, and more than 10% all fields of Moldova are influenced by ice rain or hail. We had some years when the hail has catastrophic character, destroyed up to 100% of agriculture products on the field, and some 1,000 hectares were attacked by hail. And losses, we had the worst years. 2000, it was nearly $100 million losses. And was decision of government of Soviet Union to organize the anti-hail service in Moldova, and it was organized early 60s. Here one can see the main building of anti-hail service, state service of Moldova. In this building, the all operating system, which cover the whole republic. And on the roof of the building, one can see radar system, which can follow the whole airspace in Moldova and up to 100 kilometers in Ukraine. That's why the atmospheric processes can be monitored and the dangerous clouds can be recognized, and then the information will be sent to 16 special points covered all over the republic, and they organized so it is like military point service which followed the situation in the air and can recognize good in advance dangerous clouds which can give hail. Information from these 16 points also will be sent to the central service, state service, and here about the launching of anti-hail rockets. This is monitoring of the situation in the air and can collect information about the atmospheric processes 24 hours and 7 days per week. That's why it does work permanent already 40 years. And here one can see the anti-hail rocket. And this is the start of the anti-hail rocket after the command from the central point for influence of the dangerous cloud to seed the special agent for condensation of the water from clouds before it will be formed hail, ice particles. On this slide, in European part, in Graz, Austria, and in Obninsk, Russia. In the Soviet time, these rockets were tested in Russia, in Obninsk. In 2003, it was not possible. That's why the result I have explained. The result was catastrophic. That's why our government asked our institute to help to resolve the problem with testing of rockets. The laboratory for environmental process with main goals, rockets testing and model experiment for optimization of the pyrotechnical agent. two types of rockets. This is a Russian rocket, Alazan. This is a Bulgarian rocket, Loza, and they are tested in this testing stand, and burning pyrotechnical material will produce this smoke consisting of the billions of nanoparticles, and the samples of this smoke will be pumped to the climate camera, where it was analyzed. And here it is the special injector for collecting the smoke samples, and here it is the climate camera, climate chamber, which can give the temperature -20 Celsius. It will be somehow imitation of the atmospheric processes, atmospheric temperature in the cloud, and then the automatic system will calculate the number of nanoparticles in cubic centimeter. And here one can see this is the active head of the rocket. Here is the pyrotechnical agent, silver based agent. Here one can see the ice particle which will be will appear without agent, and here one can see the in the climate chamber smoke with nanoparticles, which are centers of condensation, and we have patent for such testing system and testing process. And the results of testing, one can see that the number of nanoparticles up to 6 and 10 in power 13 in cubic centimeter. It is good result, and such amount of nanoparticles will be enough to prevent hail and to condensate water as rain instead of hail. So that's why we organized permanent testing since 2008. We don't need any more transportation of rockets to Obninsk or to Austria for testing, save a big amount of money for state, because testing in our institute we make in collaboration with anti-hail service for small amount of money. We have contract for testing, and that's why 12 years we make this research work with implementation in anti-hail service. And the perspectives of development of this service in Moldova, the next years, it will be covered the whole area of our small republic, more than 2 million hectares of agriculture fields, and now the points is increased up to 150 starting points, and we are working in collaboration with our neighbors, with Romanian, for Romanian also, and for Bulgaria we make investigation, and we extend our collaboration using these facilities. This is information about one big problem existing in our food production, in our agriculture in Moldova, hail. Another big problem is a lack of water and the quality of water, because we have only two big rivers, Prut and Dniester, and for agriculture it is not enough. That's why the amount and the quality of water is the vital important for Moldova. We have activity in our institute in this direction, developing sensors, and in 2013-2016 we had NATO Science for Peace program project for development of monitoring system. In this project were involved other countries which had similar problem with water, and our supervisor was Clean Water Institute, our colleague and partner, Professor Ashok Vasyashta. By the way, he is distinguished member of our institute. He is in the website of our institute. We have more than 10 years collaboration with Ashok Vasyashta, and have developed this monitoring system based on the sensors, and we organized the monitoring system with sensor which is in drills, and using the GSM channel, we send information from many such drills and sensors to the central server in our institute, and we can see in real-time situation in different parts of Moldova, the water level, water temperature, pH concentration of salts, electrical conductivity, and temperature of water. And in frame of this project, we made mapping, the map of the groundwater and surface water in Moldova, and the results were published together with Ashok Vasyashta in the Springer edition, in Springer book, the monitoring system for water contamination in Moldova, and also in Polish Journal of Environmental Studies, results of such monitoring and such system for monitoring, and presented at several conferences, for example, in the big international conference on agriculture in Croatia. It is regular each 2 years, this big conference, and we presented the results and the methods of monitoring of the water problems in the case of Republic of Moldova. Thank you very much for attention and for the possibility to raise such problems, which does exist not only in Moldova. I think that in many countries such problems does exist, and during the roundtable discussion, maybe we can discuss in detail possible collaboration and activities in this important area for food security and agriculture sustainable development. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Anatoly, for the great presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, Moldova's step to overcome the hail attack that destroyed the agricultural field was a presentation from Professor Anatoly. Thank you so much. Bapak Ibu, jadi tadi Profesor Anatoly telah menjelaskan tentang singkatnya bagaimana untuk menghadapi hujan es begitu ya yang dihadapi di Moldova. Dan kami juga memberikan kesempatan kepada seluruh partisipan hari ini, silakan mana yang lebih nyaman untuk Anda bertanya, bisa menyampaikan pertanyaan melalui bahasa maupun juga melalui bahasa Inggris. Kami memberikan kesempatan yang seluas-luasnya. Baik, selanjutnya kita akan menyimak paparan dari Dr. Melati. And next, I would like to invite Dr. Melati Varianita Fahrul, MS. She is a Dean of the Faculty of Landscape Architecture and Environmental Universitas Trisakti Indonesia to share with us. Mrs. Dr. Melati, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Mrs. Amalia Permata Rizky.
Nice okay.
Name.
Nice to meet you too. Time is yours, please.
Yeah. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon in Indonesia and good morning to Moldova, Republic of Moldova, Professor Anatoly and Professor Playgun. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Republic of Indonesia, Bapak Dr. Suswono, and Professor Sidorenko Anatoly, Honorable to Dr. Sergey Playgun, PhD, and of course to Bapak Aulia Lukman, who invited me as a speaker in this international seminar. Also to Miss Amalia Permata Rizky, all speakers and all participants, and thank to committee from this seminar. This seminar, the theme of this seminar, as we know, is environmental, biological, and food security as a fundamental basis for national survivability and modern condition. We have a presentation, an interesting presentation from Mr. Suswono and Professor Anatoly about food and agriculture. So I would like to complete this theme with environmental and biology. Let me show our presentation. You see my presentation?
Yes, sure,
Okay.
Mrs. Melati.
Yes. Nice to see. Thank you.
Okay. My presentation title is Carbon Sequestration as Managing Lake Ecosystems in the Context of Climate Change Mitigation. As Mrs. Amalia mentioned, I'm Melati Varianita Fahrul. My home base from Department of Environmental Engineering, Faculty of Landscape Architecture and Environmental Technology, Universitas Trisakti, Jakarta, Indonesia. About the climate change, as we know, but concentration of greenhouse gases, particularly CO2 in the atmosphere, could lead to a rise in average Earth surface temperature by 0.17 degree Celsius per decade and 0.5 up to 1% of precipitation per decade in most of the hemisphere and 0.3% in tropics and subtropic. Many scientists have suggested that the sequestration of carbon dioxide in soil organic and carbon could contribute significantly to adhere the Kyoto Protocol in stabilizing the abundance of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases to mitigate the risk of global warming. And with the increasing of the atmospheric carbon dioxide is of friends, here I present you about my research case in wetland. Here I focus to lake, and lake ecosystems. As we know, impact of climate change on water resources and hydrologic cycle. Some of the impact, this is as we inform you, increase the atmospheric water vapor content can impact increased precipitation. Change in the precipitation patterns, it will increase risk of the floods and droughts. And a change in evapotranspiration, soil moisture and runoff, it will be impact to implication of agriculture, forestation and water supply. So about change in groundwater recharge, it will impact to implication for groundwater withdrawal. And then ice melting and reduction in snow cover also impact to change in runoff pattern. And the last one, sea level rise. It will increase seawater intrusion and coastal population. About the control on greenhouse gases emission, particularly CO2 is inevitable to declare the global warming process. While cities major, like Indonesia, major contribution to greenhouse gas emission, water bodies and wetlands within and around cities play an important role as natural carbon sink, where carbon sequestration occurs for a long period of time, thereby mitigating global warming and accumulating of greenhouse gases emission. Indonesia, as a tropical country, has many water bodies such as natural lake, like a lake, or man-made like a reservoir. Here we can see the beautiful lake in Indonesia. As conservation of such water bodies and wetlands is primary concern. As I mentioned, I want to show you the case study is urban water body in Indonesia. We choose two water bodies, a lake as natural ecosystem and reservoir as man-made. About the carbon concentration of dioxide or CO2, reducing the amount of energy in using primarily fossil fuels of development change in lifestyle and behaviors, expanding the use carbon negative oil that the CO2 is sources from the fermentation emission from the ethanol plant. So biological sequestration is basically performed by living organisms, including plants and many organisms, which lead to carbon capture and storage via various biological processes. enhancement in phytoplankton CO2 fixation in an added advantage along with the carbon sequestration. So what is carbon sequestration? Carbon sequestration can be defined as capture and secure storage of carbon. Carbon credits encompasses two ideas. The first one, of prevention and reduction of carbon emission produced by human activities from reaching the atmosphere by capturing and diverting them to secure storage. And the second one, removal of carbon from the atmosphere by various means and securely storing it. About the carbon sequestration is the process involved in carbon capture and the long-term storage of atmospheric carbon dioxide or other forms of carbon to mitigate or defer global warming. The carbon sequestration is also a technology for capturing of CO2 emitters such as from power plant. However, capture is meaningless without storage. Storage of CO2, on the other hand, is a relatively untried concept. And as yet to power plant operates with a full carbon capture and storage system. Here we can show the light pond for carbon sink. Yeah. As we know, in the air, we have some nitrogen, oxygen, and argon, also carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So the oxygen is the nitrogen is the one of the higher concentration in atmosphere. About the carbon capture and storage, or CCS, is various method to capturing and permanently storing an anthropogenic CO2 that will otherwise contribute to global climate change. Carbon capture we can have from the terrestrial ecosystem and also from aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem here, not only ocean, but also from something like pond, lake, or river. Yeah, in terrestrial ecosystem, in the forest, also from mangrove forest and something like that. The term carbon sequestration is used to describe both natural and deliberate process with CO2 is either removed from the atmosphere and from emission sources and stored in water in the waters, as I mentioned previous, in ocean, lake, reservoir, or river. And
Ibu Dr. Melati, I'm sorry, would you like please to click the full screen option? Okay. I'm sorry. Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, sorry. However, the contribution of lake and man-made reservoir in counteracting man-made CO2 emission cannot be neglected. However, the water bodies like here, wetland and within the around cities often found in the stage abuse, something garbage or wastewater discharged to the lake or pond or sea from the human activities or anthropogenic activities. This vulnerable ecosystem often located within parks, beside rendering ecosystem services, also serve as natural base destination for the urban place. Actually, if we have the clean or good lake, we can go to there as something like leisure or picnic, something like that. This is a very contrast condition. This is the pollution lake, the pollution water pollution lake, and this is the nice one. About the greenhouse gas emission, here microalgae have the potential for CO2 greenhouse gas mitigation, and with microalgae absorbs the emission from atmosphere and transport come from the industrial emission. Actually, microalgae can fix carbon and convert solar energy into chemical energy more than efficient than terrestrial plant. That's why we should keep conserve the water's ecosystem. They can absorb, can sink the CO2 efficient than the terrestrial plant. About the microalgae, what is the microalgae? Microalgae are microscopic organisms found from the both seawater and freshwater. They can be classified as a blue-green algae with more than 25,000 species already isolated and identified from the sea and the freshwater. Freshwater, this is found from lake or reservoir or pond and something like that. This microorganism, which is an important natural mechanism to reduce the atmospheric CO2 concentration by photosynthesis. So it's need the sunlight, of course. Yeah. So microalgae are also characterized by the short generation time, multiplying exponential under favorable environmental condition. This is some of the picture about microalgae. This is we cannot see directly, but we can see by microscope. About the photosynthesis in microalgae, as we know, photosynthesis is a unique process of sunlight, of course. Energy conservation with the organic compounds and light energy are converted to organic matter by phototroph. Emission comes from the activities, industrial or anthropogenic activities, and then microalgae can absorb the CO2 and then process in this cell of their cells, and then release a side product, something like oxygen. This is also about the microalgae, carbon capture and storage. They can have something produce from metabolic reaction in use the cells to increase the biomass. Also, the microalgae after oil extraction can be used for fodder for animals and fertilizer after they sink to the bottom of the waters. This is my case study research. This research was conducted into aquatic ecosystem. The first is the natural ecosystem located in Sumatra province, Sumatra. This is Maninjau Lake. And then this is man-made ecosystem here in Jakarta, also in my hometown. The Maninjau Lake have inlet channel comes from Batang Arokan River. The function are the catchment area, water recreation area, and fishing breeding area. About the fluid reservoir, there's hot water from the Ciliwung River, Krukut River, and Angke River, also from rainwater and waste from surrounding reservoir. The function of this lake or reservoir as recreation facilities and water catchment area. This is, of course, is a fresh water. This research aims to estimate the potential of carbon dioxide sequestration in lake waters. We have a sample for the 11 sampling point in Maninjau Lake and Fluid Lake or Fluid Reservoir. We point scattered along the lake, along the reservoir, main outlet and activities for of the water surrounding. This is the abundance phytoplankton. Phytoplankton is microalgae. This is formula to counting a cell of the microalgae, and also we can counting about the chlorophyll concentration in microalgae. This is our formula. So for the carbon sequestration in phytoplankton was calculated using carbon conversion. Carbon conversion factor for chlorophyll of phytoplankton or microalgae. For total carbon calculated will this equation. This is can convert microgram for meter cubic to determine a potential of carbon sequestration in waters and amount carbon sequestration in a certain time period. About the result, after we analysis in lab, we have some result about the water's condition contains sufficient nutrients need for growth of phytoplankton. The key parameter of phytoplankton is nitrate, phosphate, of course, the temperature. This is the concentration of nitrate in the Maninjau Lake and in the fluid reservoir. As we show the result, water condition is inadequate for phytoplankton growth, although the air temperature is sufficient for photosynthesis. This is indicators have a polluted condition in waters. After we identify the microalgae, we have 3 classes from Maninjau Lake and 4 classes in fluid reservoir. This is from Cyanophyceae, Chlorophyceae, Chrysophyceae, in the Maninjau Lake. And fluid reservoir, 4 classes: Bacillariophyceae, Chlorophyceae, Cyanophyceae, and Aglonophyceae.
This is species of microalgae or phytoplankton from microscope. This is the abundance of phytoplankton. Abundance of phytoplankton can describe about the carbon, how much the carbon absorbed from the phytoplankton or macroalgae. As we saw here, the abundance of phytoplankton variety of different sampling point. This is range the average abundance also from the mining lake and also from fluid reservoir. The type of phytoplankton show that the chlorophyll A, this is important pigment for photosynthesis. We analyze the chlorophyll A concentration, and then this is the result from the Maninjo Lake and also from reservoir lake. Fluid reservoir. After we have the chlorophyll or abundance of phytoplankton, we calculate about the carbon sequestration. The absorption of carbon that occurs in Lake Maninjo, we have value 0.05 something microcarbon meter cube per year, and in the fluid reservoir higher than Lake Maninjo, 0.11 microgram carbon per meter cube per year. While like this, the condition of water about the several of factor water pollution, so we can see the small value of the chlorophyll concentration. If the water is better or clean water or good water, of course, the chlorophyll concentration can higher than this value. The result obtained in tropical country like Indonesia are smaller, or the physical factor allow for the process photosynthesis. Then compare with result of studies from several countries like this here, like Huron Lake in North America, Superior Lake in also North America, Burulus in Egypt, Holocene Lake in China. We can see more than the value more than the carbon sequestration we found in Indonesia in the two ecosystem have we sample. Actually, percent-day carbon emission due to burning of fossil fuels amount about 5.5 times 110 tons C carbon per year. Yeah, while lakes and reservoir remove about the 0.3 times ton 109 tons per year, with which is 5.5% of what we put in the atmosphere annually as a sequence of utilization of coal, gas, and oil. About the conclusion, Based on results obtained in this study in relation to issues of climate change and global warming, it is necessary to maintain the ecological function and water quality of lake and reservoir in order to absorb more CO2. This is the result from the this is the red one from the Maninjau Lake, and this is the blue one from fluid reservoir. So microalgae could be gives information about the carbon sequestration rate and as instrumental in formulating efficient strategies related to carbon sequestration and can reduction of greenhouse gas emission. The present study concluded that Maninjau Lake and fluid reservoir could be instrumental in formulating efficient strategies related to carbon sequestration and reduction of greenhouse gases emission in tropical country. So we must conserve the lake or the waters. Yeah, conserving waters is important because it keeps water pure and clean while protecting the environment, and then we can have absorb the more than CO2 from atmosphere. As a very individual depends on water for livelihood, we must learn to how to keep our limited supply of water pure and away from pollution. Keeping our water safe and pure will protect the water for generations to come. This is my presentation, and thank you for your attention. We back this time to Miss Amelia.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Melati, for a great presentation. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the presentation from Dr. Melati was her research about ecological function and water quality, and also various efforts which made to reduce the rate of global warming and climate change. Okay, and next we would like to invite Sergey Plygan, PhD. And for your information, Plygan is a Russian researcher, Institute of Phytopathology, Russia. Okay, please welcome Mr. Plygan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I also would like to greet all the participants of our seminar, my colleagues from Moldova, from Indonesia. And first of all, I would like to say a little bit about myself. I'm a senior researcher at the All-Russian Research Institute of Phytopathology that's located in Moscow region of Russia. I'm also involved with several international projects with SpinTech that are basically based in Moldova, and with European Society of Clinical Microbiology and Infectious Diseases based in Basel, Switzerland. So, except for that, I'm cooperating with several universities, such as Oral State University. Basically, it's a laboratory of biocontrol and antimicrobial resistance, and we perform several projects. For example, it's vaccine development, and one of our Indonesian colleagues, such as Professor Aurelian Mortaji Rifai from Brawijaya University, also work with us in this project, and we have a significant results in bio studies and research. So today we speak about the most important topic that dedicated in one way or another to food security, and this problem appeared to be crucial for national and population survivability due to the recent events such as climate change, such as economy recession, and the COVID outbreak. So it is quite clear and understandable that primary speakers have put the most attention today for the problem of food security itself and the climate change as a triggering factor that force us to redevelop our technologies and adopt new ways of working in agriculture and related areas. So today I would like to first of all to address our young scientists and researchers who attend our seminar and give a little bit explanation about the food security itself. So this term can be seen as can be split in two ways. The first one, when you can see the food security from the personal view, and it can be described, you can see the following slide, as food security based index that describe insecurity. So here you can see the three basic stages that can explain what the food security insecurity means. So the FES, or it is described as the food insecurity experience scale. It's a statistical scale similar to other widely accepted scales designed to measure unobservable traits such as aptitude, intelligence, personality, and so on. And it's based on a series of questions, composes a scale that covers a range of severity of food insecurity. So the most important part that this scale is managed by FAO of United Nations, and it can be used as official for your research and studies dedicated to food security. Well, if to describe in short, we have three stages. Well, when we have food security to mild food insecurity, you can see it's light marked as green. In the center, we have a moderate food insecurity, which describes when the person has insufficient funds or resources for healthy diet. It's uncertain about the ability to obtain food or probably skipped some meals during the day. And severe in food insecurity, when the people completely run out of food and gone an entire day without eating of times during the year. So this is the way we can describe the food security from the person view. But today we're discussing a bit specific way for seeing the food security, and it appears to be on a state level. Would you please turn to the next slide? Next slide, please, if it's possible.
Just a minute, sir.
Yeah, oh yeah, okay. So if we see the food security on a state level, we have a comprehensive system that includes many factors, such as internal and external. And among them, currently, the most influential is climate variability and related to that extremes. I mean, extremes, it's extreme weather conditions, such as rain, floods, earthquakes, and so on. And economic issues that related to global situation and state situation in each country. So if we take the climate variability or climate change, for example, those effects have a great impact on agricultural production and productivity. For example, crop yields and crop intensity, and also affect food imports as countries try to compensate for domestic production losses. Well, medium and large-scale climate-related disasters, such as rain, floods, or earthquakes, or any other events, can lead to significant impacts across the food value chain, with negative consequences on sector growth and on food and non-food agro-industries. And it's quite obvious. We can see by the mass media news that every corner of our planet impacted with different and many obstacles related to climate. But with this regard, food price spikes and volatility tend to follow climatic streams. It's inevitable. Reducing access to food and negatively affect the quantity, the quality, and dietary diversity of food consumed. So in addition, more erratic rainfall and higher temperature jeopardize the quality and safety and increase the instance of crop contamination and outbreaks of pests and disease. So, for example, high intensity rainfall can create conditions that lead to malgrowth and subsequent contamination of crops in the field with mycotoxins contamination, while high temperature can lead to pest and fungi development during the storage. So you see, the problem here is not only to harvest a proper raw amount of raw materials, but it's a problem to save it properly so the food not become a poison. And this situation is quite serious because if you involve only the farmers and local governments, you don't have an opportunity to involve all resources that require to ensure the food quality and safety. So the state policies here is quite important. As for climatic streams such as temperature and humidity, after survival and transmission patterns that can lead to increased bacterial, viral, and pathogenic contamination in water that can be used both for consumption and for irrigation, and for inevitably for food contamination. And that's quite a serious threat to any country for nowadays. As we speak about the economy itself and the economic situation, it should be said that economic slowdowns and downturns in turn primarily impact food systems through their negative effect on people's access to food, including the affordability of health diets, as they lead to rise in unemployment and declines in wages incomes. So this is the case irrespective of whether they are driven by market swings, trade wars, political unrest, some riots, or global pandemics such as COVID-19. Well, and here we come to the very important external factors that affect food security, the COVID. Well, for 2 years, we have struggling with this situation, and it seems there is no end to it. I would put a little bit personal note on this. During this last year, I have lost at least three relatives to this disease, and I would say it is not quite pleasant to see your close people go. As for myself, I have exposed to COVID at least 2 times, and second time it was recently. I have recovered about a week ago, so it was quite unpleasant, I should say. Well, as for COVID itself, as you know, it has a grand impact on economy and food security. So the pandemic itself is a threat to people's health and the population, but the measures to contain it had the most impact on the economy and the food security, since we have been forced to in place to counter it with some limitations that include quarantines, border closure, and so on. And in these 2 past years have shown us that during this economic impacts, the number of people suffering from the chronic hunger in the world, as measured by the prevalence of undernourishment, increased at least by 161 million more people in 2020. It is the largest single year increase in decades. I should mark it once again. it is the largest in the last decades. It is extraordinary. So additionally, by the end of 2020, at least 155 million people suffered from acute insecurity that require an urgent humanitarian assistance. And 55 countries, just hear it, 55 countries and different territories. By comparison, in 2019, the economic shocks constituted the primary driver in just 8 countries, with around 24 million people who were in crisis or worse conditions. So it's an unprecedented situation, and it is no surprise that many governments have a very serious threats and difficulties to oppose it. So if we speak about the food security as a pandemic, had the most serious impact on economic recession in 2020. For example, per capita incomes contracted in more countries than at any time in the recent times, and it had not only multiple demand side effects on access to food, there are also supply side effects that affect people's capacity to access food itself and healthy diet in particular. This includes many things that we can handle on our level. I mean, the common level of common people, such as travel restriction and effectiveness of supply chain and trade disruptions. This is the part that can be handled by governments only, and cooperation within the government line from the top to the bottom should be efficient. And unfortunately, many countries in some ways showed its inability to provide such governance. I'm not taking any examples or telling the names, but there is no country in the world that handles the COVID pandemic as an example. All countries have made mistakes, and people's lives were lost. Actually, it's hundred of thousands of people who have died due to the untimely efforts to protect from the infection itself and from the merging it in different regions. So if we speak about the COVID, we should understand that food security itself, it's one part of the deal. We have another and the most complaining part, it's that described as biological security. And if you remember the times of 9/11 attacks and subsequent little anthrax letters, after that events, many countries put significant measures to defend its own population against the threats of bioweapons and bio-related threats. But unfortunately, as we can see, all these efforts gone in vain, and we didn't become any safer. In fact, we became even more vulnerable. And the key problem with that situation is that those research conducted in sheer size and secrecy as part of biodefense research and studies and different programs. And nowadays, thousands of scientists spread through the hundreds of locations of the world are now working with little bioweapons agents, such as pathogens of different origins. And it's no surprise that the biodefense systems and programs, it's important to prevent the future threats. But as we can see now, the COVID and its emergence, we don't have even reliable information on how it appeared and when and where it happened. We have several investigations that conducted by the United Nations, but we don't have any clear results. We have only misleading information, fakes, and this information war against the COVID situation and the blames between countries. They don't give this situation even more clear. So in this current situation, when we don't have an efficient control over studies with dangerous pathogens when we don't have vigilante population, a citizenry about it, we won't become any safer. And as you can see, the number of laboratories that have been working with biopathogens greatly multiplies in recent years. It is no surprise, you can Google it and see there's many laboratories that with questionable research appeared in Eurasia, it appeared in Asia, it appeared in American region, and all out throughout the world. And this multiplies the risks of deadly accidents, or thefts, or even sabotage or terror attacks within the research group. And not only external, and it also might be an external threat. And if we don't have clear and open information of how this research goes, what its goal, and so on, we won't become any safer. And this is quite sad situation. Despite what country involves it, for us as a common people, it doesn't matter. We struggle every day, and it is the responsibility of governments to provide reliable and safety conditions for our living. So, if we take the whole picture together, such as food security, or climate change, biosecurity, well, it is important to say that something can be done, and if it taken in light of our topic, it can be done. So, if possible, please turn the other slide. So here, if we speak on the state level, we should establishing of effective and inclusive governance mechanism and institutions, in addition to access to technology, data, innovation, should serve as important accelerators in the comprehensive portfolios of policies, investments, and future investments, and legislations aimed at transforming food systems to increase security capabilities. It's quite important. But first of all, it is critical to keep the food supply chains operational, while providing adequate support to the livelihoods of the most vulnerable, including through enhanced social protection programs. And it's quite important. If taking in mind the most vulnerable population, the only reliable way to provide sufficient support is special social protection programs. Yes, it will be costly, but it must be implemented in every country one way or another. The short way that we can provide some reliable solution for the current situation in ensuring food security for its implementation of comprehensive policies aimed at both the food and natural environments, reinforced by regulation and legislation. And here we speak about climate change and zero policies that should be implemented in every country by one or another. The first is the using of system approaches on a state level that contribute to win-win solutions. And it's quite important not to use the situational regulations, but the system regulation and system approach for governance. And this might include territorial approaches, ecosystem, indigenous people approaches, and the coordinated policies actions against the crisis conditions. And the last one that can be suggested is adopting of innovative mechanisms to reduce climate-related risks, widespread adoption of climate-smart and environmentally sound protection techniques, and the conservation and rehabilitation of natural environments that will strengthen the resilience of the food system against increased climate variability and extremes. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that it's quite important for, especially for our young scientists, to understand that the future of these problems of food security, of biosecurity lies in their hands. And only by their understanding of scientific ethics and their responsibility, we can provide a biosecurity. And it is quite important then to understand that people's lives depends on them, depends on their vigilante forces. and it includes not using the questionable approaches for bioresearch, as we probably had today in our community. COVID might be as an example. I said it might be an example. So it is quite important for them to understand it and follow the strict scientific ethics at all times. Well, if you have some interest, you can spend some time for further reading. Please, next slide. On this slide, you can see the information related to the information prepared by the FAO, United Nations, of WHO, and other organizations on food security, the state of food security and nutrition in the world, latest edition 2021. Please have time to, next slide, please. Please have time to read this book. So you will find more interesting information, insights about the food security itself and how it works and how it can be used in your current research. Thank you for your attention. Presentation is over. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Sergey, for the presentation about the food security, especially during the pandemic. So, ladies and gentlemen, Bapak dan Ibu, now we are going to the Q&A session, and I would like to read the question that already collected by the committee. And excuse me, for Professor Anatoly, do you still with us?
Yes, of course, I am here. Hello.
Okay, hello. Nice to meet you. And Professor Anatoly, would you like please to answer the question orally? You got two questions. First from Dr. Umi from Universitas Brawijaya. And the second one is, I'm sorry, I didn't see the name, but I would like to read the question. The first question is from Dr. Umi that you already answer in chat box, but would you like please to answer it orally?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, I can a bit extend my answer. I have, first of all, thank to Doctor for his question. It is extended information which I presented in my talk. He asked about the influence of climate in Moldova. He wrote that maybe we have not only problems with lack of water and problems with hail, but maybe we have problems with low temperatures. Yes, he mentioned one more factor which negative influence on the agriculture in Moldova. I mean that the strongly Moldova continental climate and not only continental but strong continental. It means that we have hot summer, maybe not so hot like Indonesia, but like in Italy. We have summer hot, but in contrast to Italy, we have also cold winter. Some years, once in 3-4 years, we have extremely cold winter up to minus 26, 27 Celsius frost in winter. And for majority of agriculture cultures, it is not so dangerous, but for wine grape, it is very dangerous, and some years it was many hundreds of hectares destroyed by frost, and it was lost by farmers. In Soviet time, it was state problem. State paid for recover, for restore such fields destroyed by frost. But nowadays, this is the private sector, and state has some secure fund for support agriculture people in such terrible catastrophic situation. Such fund also, when we have years with drought, when, for example, in 2010 we had extremely hot summer, and all fields with maize or other corn, with corn especially, were destroyed, and farmers had no money to buy fuel for tractors. That's why the state supported with seeds and with fuel the farmers to prevent bankruptcy. That's why the not only hail, more general, we have not only hail prevention. Our service, which I described in my presentation, now together with our institute, we develop the technology for regulation of atmospherical processes, for example, to provocate rain, not only prevent hail, but also to motivate rain if we have a very dry summer. That's why thank you for question. And agriculture, it is a risky activity. That's why the state shall support if state would like to have food sovereignty. Thank you.
Well, okay. Thank you so much.
And another question?
Yes, still
another question.
Still question for you. The question comes from Mrs. Anna Susanti, Professor Anatoly. She is asking, Professor, they're nice to have such a good information from your experience and experiment. May I know about decreased land use for farming in your country? How to solve due to provide food security? Thank you.
Thank you also for question. Yes, we have support from European community. For example, the project which I mentioned in second part of my talk, briefly I mentioned about the monitoring of water. It was supported by NATO Science for Peace program, and they gave money for development of the monitoring system. And another part of the some grants European Union gives also when we had flood. We have river Dniester. It is the river which started in mountains. That's why in summer a lack of water, but in spring a lot of water. And sometimes we have not only the drought, dry summer, but sometimes we have flood. And during the flood, some villages were destroyed, and European community supported with grants to restore villages. That's why this program does exist. Moldova is associated member, and our country, it is small country. That's why maybe not so impressive money which we gain, but we have only 3 million people and 32,000 square kilometers area. That's why the support is not too big, but it is sensitive. Thank you for questions, and if any other, I'm ready
Yeah.
to reply.
Yeah, there's still another question for you, Professor. The next question comes from Bapak or Mr. Imam. Professor Anatoly, any kind of high-tech endeavors in converting the unexpected water condition to the most expected water quality or quantity in all parts of Moldova, of which working conversion suit for appropriate season. I mean, the working apparatus not working permanently. It works like oscillator, winding backward, forward to the station properly. Would you please to answer the question?
Yes, you are right that the starting of anti-hail rockets, it is not the permanent process. Sure that they are used only in the emergency cases when there does exist the danger for field to be destroyed. That's why it is a really oscillating process. Not every cloud which appear on the sky should be shooted by rockets. It is expensive and it is not necessary. The system has, it is correct, it has high-tech smart program which can recognize dangerous clouds without inserting of personal permanent monitoring. In the years 60s, 70s, the operator should day and night control radar system and recognize visually the dangerous clouds. Nowadays, it is artificial intellect makes this job, and it can recognize in advance the danger clouds and not to start rockets. It asks the operator, it is necessary or not necessary. It is one thing. Another thing that we have oscillatory processes also in rain activity. Sometimes when wind conditions bring mild air from Karpat mountains, then it will be possible to initiate rain in the dry season. Not only prevent hail, but to motivate rain for our agriculture field. That's why it is some kind of high-tech technologies in agriculture.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Anatoly, for answering the question. Before we going to the next speaker, would you like please give the conclusion from all your material that you already shared to the audience?
You mean my conclusion, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Please, thank you.
Yes. And conclusion, better than your President Sukarno told, it is not possible to conclude that food is life, and our activity should be directed to support the all directions which lead to food production, because another great person, which your minister, thank him very much for first talk by your Minister of Agriculture was given. It was not only very informative, but it was philosophical one, because the agriculture is directly connected with our life, with sovereignty of country, and with real independent of country. That's why concluding the information which I presented, it is only one part of our activity. I mentioned that we have a big European project, SpinTech, where and Dr. Pligun, also Oral State University, participate in various forms. That's why all these activities, hail, anti-hail activity, rain motivation, water quality and water quantity control, pesticide implementation and regulation, and deactivation. I did not mention, we have not enough time, that's why I did not mention one more important part of our project. We invented and patented the technological process for recovery of soil after pesticide implementation. Pesticides are very dangerous substances. That's why residual pesticides should be removed and soil should be recovered. That's why all these activities have the main purpose to make food production reliable and secure, and to produce food enough for population of your country and our country. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Anatoly, for answering the question and giving the conclusion. Thank you for sharing with us today, and hopefully we can meet in another occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, and I can say that I will use the possibility to publish some of our results in your edition, because
sure.
Sergey informed me about your edition, and that's why we will be in contact, I believe. Thank you very much.
Such an honor for us. Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
Okay, bye. See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, and we're going to the next session. Dr. Melati, do you still with us? Of course. Ibu Dr. Melati.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Ibu. Ada satu pertanyaan.
Okay.
There is a question from Dr. Umi. Ibu Dr. Umi senyumnya, saya senang sekali. Sangat bersemangat. Thank you so much, Ibu Umi. The question, there are many lakes with different biogeochemistry background in Indonesia. Do you think that this would affect the carbon sequestration? How about the climate change? Does it affect this carbon sequestration to become increase or decrease? How about different composition of these microalgae that exist in the lake? Do they also have some effect on their capability on carbon sequestration? Or there is any addition from Dr. Umi? Hello, Dr. Umi. Assalamualaikum.
Dr. Umi, Assalamualaikum.
Amalia. Thank you for delivering my questions to Dr. Melati.
My pleasure. Please, Dr. Melati.
Okay.
Hopefully, my question is simple.
Okay.
Dr.
Yeah.
Melati.
Thank you for Dr. Umi. Question is a good question, I think. So different biochemical condition will certainly affect to live of microalgae, because microalgae habitats and live in waters and requires nutrients such as phosphate, nitrates, and as a main nutrient. If these nutrients are adequate, so the microalgae will be able to live well. So they can photo, especially in Indonesia, we have as a tropical country where the sun is there all year round. And then the most important things is that the water condition are not polluted.
so that the biochemical process can run well, and it will increase carbon sequestration. And then the difference in algae composition certainly affect carbon uptake, of course. It happens in my research between Maninjau Lake and Pluit Reservoir. This is considered polluted. So the different, the result, there are different carbon uptake result or value in this different reservoir and lake waters ecosystem. And in general, those that have a good ability are types of green algae that have green pigments or more chlorophyll than other types actually. Microalgae have many genera like the red algae, blue algae, and brown algae. This is the type of the pigment, but the good one is the gray pigment is chlorophyll. So our country benefits from the sun. That's always sunshine. Can the photosynthesis process can have effect to the process in the water bodies.
Thank you, Dr. Melati.
Yeah, thank you.
This is very
okay, Dr.
interesting.
Amelia. Miss Amelia, this is my answer.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Melati. Dr. Umi, thank you for questioning. And Dr. Melati, thank you for answering, of course. And Dr. Melati, would you like please to give the conclusion or closing statement about this event and what about the presentation that you have shared to the audience, please? Okay, thank you. The first ones, of course, this very interesting seminars, very and more knowledge we have fruitful from these seminars. Regarding the climate change effect, this can affect to the agriculture condition that have an impact on food security, environmental condition. So therefore, we all need to mitigate and adapt to this climate change to have our live this in Earth. Also for the next generation. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Melati. And would you like please to stay with us because in the end of this session, we will take the picture together. And I hopefully say it and ask to Professor Anatoly after this one to join for the photo session. And next, I would like to invite Sergey Playgun. Hello, Mr. Sergey. Are you still with us? Yeah. Would you like please to give the additional information or your point of view about the question from the audience and what has been the answer from the Professor Anatoly and also from Dr. Melati? Do you have anything to say?
Well, you see, as a concluding remark, I should say that the primary goal of our seminar has been fulfilled, by my opinion. It is clear that environmental, bio, and food security is a fundamental basis for national survivability. And as my opinion, the key tools for ensuring it, it's implementing of proper policies and updating it, and efficient governance. So the key tools is in the hands of our governments, and at the moment, we can only rely on their expertise and reliability. And as for those who attended our seminar, I would ask them to take an active part in promotion of new policies for climate change, protection, agriculture, and biosafety. It is your vision, in your opinion, that will play the major role in ensuring our safety? So be vigilant, be efficient, and be scientific. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Playgun. And next, I would like to invite all the speakers to turning on the camera. Okay, and before that, okay, please turning on the camera, Mr. Playgun, and then Dr. Melati, Professor Anatoly. Okay, I invite you to turning on the camera. Saya undang Bapak Ibu sekalian. Okay.
Okay.
Are you ready? With thumbs up. 1, 2, 3. Once more for the next slide. 1, 2, 3. The third one, give the best smile. And the last one, cheers, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, the audience. And next, I would like to invite one more time for the CEO of Lekantara. Please welcome Pak Aulia Lukman, Mr. Aulia Lukman.
Okay, thank you very much, Mbak Amalia Permata Rizky, for moderating the discussion very well. Yeah, and the discussion went very smoothly too, and I really got the knowledge from all the speakers. Yeah, so I thank you very much for Dr. Melati Fahrul from Universitas Trisakti, Mr. Sergey Playgun, PhD. Thank you, bro, for presenting your issue. It's a very important issue. And Professor Anatoly Sidorenko, thank you very much. It's a very useful knowledge for us to have your experience or your country's experience in having a catastrophe in terms of the development of agriculture there. And also to Dr. Suswono, who has left earlier because of other matters. So I would like to address some. I would like to have to give info to the audience ya. So Bapak Ibu sekalian, ini adalah sebuah conference. Jadi kami menerima paper untuk dipublikasikan dalam bentuk proceeding internasional seperti tadi yang sudah disinggung oleh Prof. Anatoly dan juga Sergey yang juga akan menyampaikan papernya untuk dipublikasikan bersama di proceeding kami. Jadi silakan Bapak Ibu yang memiliki paper di bidang natural science and environment, including medicine, itu dapat berkomunikasi nanti dengan tim kami di grup. Ada Mbak Retno Fitri ya untuk menyampaikan papernya. Paper dapat kami tunggu sampai sekitar bulan November. Jadi ada waktu bagi Bapak Ibu untuk menyiapkan paper. Nanti insya Allah akan diterbitkan di penerbit IOP. Ya, dan harapannya nanti dari situ IOP akan mensubmit atau mengirimkan proceeding ini di beberapa indexing besar, termasuk diantaranya Scopus dan Word of Science. So again, silakan Bapak Ibu jika memiliki paper dapat menyampaikannya kepada tim kami. Dalam hal ini adalah Mbak Retno Fitri yang juga ada di grup partisipan. Thank you very much. I will give back chance to Amalia.
Thank you, Pak Lukman.
Well, thank you so much for all the speakers, to Ibu Dr. Melati, and then Professor Anatoly, Mr. Playgun, Dr. Playgun, thank you so much for sharing all of the very important information and new point of view for the participants. So this is the end of this meeting, and hopefully we can see in another occasion. Success is ours. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bye.
Thank you, Ibu Melati.
Professor Anatoly, Dr. Playgun, Dr. Lukman. Thank you.
Thank you
Mbak
for
Thank you,
Amalia.
Ibu Melati.
Thank you
Thank you.
semuanya.
Solid, thank you very much.
Terima kasih.
Thank you, thank you.
Sampai ketemu. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, bye, Professor Anatoly. Sergey, thank you, bro. See you.
Dr. Sergey. Prof. Anatoly, bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Let's believe. Assalamualaikum.
Pak Lukman, Mbak Amalia, aku ini ya, izin
Ya,
live
Bu.
ya.
Terima kasih, Bu.
Oke, sama-sama.
Terima kasih, Dr. Melati.
Bumi, salam kenal
Iya.
Bumi.
Iya, sampai bertemu Dr.
Iya.
Melati.
Ya, terima
Pak
kasih
Lukman,
semuanya.
Terima kasih Mbak Amalia, terima
Terima
kasih.
kasih
Terima kasih
banyak,
Bapak Ibu
Dokter.
semua.
Sampai
Assalamualaikum,
jumpa.
selamat
Waalaikumsalam
sore,
warahmatullahi
salam sehat
wabarakatuh.
semuanya ya.
Amin. Ibu juga
Terima
ya,
kasih,
Bu
Bu.
Dokter.
Ya.
Terima kasih Bu semuanya. Salam dari
Iya.
Padang.
Oh, dari Padang.
Ya, selamat sore Padang. Hujan di sini di Malang.
Ya, di sini juga hujan, Pak.
Ya.
Oh ya, alhamdulillah. Semoga berkah ya hujannya. Amin.
Itu live ya.
Ya, Bu.
Ya.
Terima kasih, Bu.
Mudah-mudahan COVID selesai, kita bisa ketemuan langsung ya, Pak Lukman,
Amin, amin.
Mbak
Ya, Bu.
Amalia.
Saya pengen
Amin.
main ke Trisakti,
Iya, ke Trisakti. Welcome.
Insya Allah. Baik, Ibu.
Iya, semuanya Ibu Bapak
Ya, Bu.
silakan.
Siap. Terima kasih. Terima kasih.
Ya, insya
Ya,
Allah.
assalamualaikum ya, izin live.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam
wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih semuanya. Saya pamit. Assalamualaikum.